Love is a burning thing, and it makes a fiery ring. Bound by wild desire, I fell into a ring of fire. I fell into a burning ring of fire. I went down, 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 and the flames went higher. And it burns, 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 the ring of fire, the ring of fire. I fell into a burning ring of fire. I went down, 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 and the flames went higher. And it burns, 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 the ring of fire, the ring of fire. The taste of love is sweet when hearts like ours meet. I fell for you like a child, oh, but the fire went wild. I fell into a burning ring of fire. I went down, 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 and the flames went higher. And it burns, 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 the ring of fire, the ring of fire. I fell into a burning ring of fire. I went down, 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 and the flames went higher. And it burns, 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 the ring of fire, the ring of fire. And it burns, 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 the ring of fire, the ring of fire, the ring of fire, the ring of fire. It is May 21st, 2019 at 12:16 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, USA. This is my podcast, The Black Hole. It's the story of a handyman slash artist who goes and becomes a coal miner in southwestern Pennsylvania on his quest to become the most underground artist in the world. So tonight, we got into a man trip known as a bus. It holds 12 people. It could hold 14 people. It's got a cab on each end of it with bench seats, 2 bench seats facing each other. And the cabs have plate metal roofs. They're fully enclosed except for where you get in and out of them. The roofs are about 4 to 4.5 feet high, and that's on either end. And then the driver sits in the center, and there's a jump seat for someone to sit up with the driver. They run on the rails with the trolley poles or off of batteries. We've taken them before. We had BT5 tonight, and as we jumped in our bus man trip, I noticed that it was decorated with a plethora of cartoon penises. We took the man trip deep, deep into the mine, traversing 45 to 55 minutes towards the 8W face. And tonight, we picked up where we left off on Wednesday, only I was with a different person. On last Wednesday, we drug an emulsion line, which is a black plastic tubing about 2.5 inches in diameter. We drug that back 8W. Tonight, we actually hooked it up with couplings and hung it from the ceiling. The roof. We hung it from the roof. We also had to put a T coupling in and a T with a valve, because they run not only emulsion fluid through these black lines but compressed air. I assume for some air tolls, and also to run rock dusters, which are 55-gallon drums with rock dust in them that feed out of a tube and blow onto the belt line. So that's what we did tonight, connected that and fixed some of the breaks in the lines. May 22nd, 2019 at 12:19 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, USA. This is Mitch, your friendly coal miner. Had a doozy of a night tonight. A real ball buster. Had to go back to the belt that goes south. You see, there's a belt that feeds a couple miles south into West Virginia that feeds the skip shafts. And that's right, I said earlier a skipjack mine, but it's actually a skip shaft mine. I just misheard the safety person when they were describing the type of mine that we work in. We had to go south along this belt and shovel the side that doesn't usually get walked. You see, there are fire bosses and belt walkers that walk the belt line and check for hazards every day before every shift. So we acquired a man trip, made our way to the 156 block. We had to do 146 south to 130 was the goal, but we only did about 3 blocks. So we did about 300 feet of walkway, which was basically digging a trench of coal. So it was old school coal mining. I had a pickaxe and I was churning up the trench, and the other guy, the black hat, was shoveling it onto the belt line. We were right next to the belt line. Some things to remember in the coal mine. The longwall coal mine, the longwall method of mining is the safest method of mining. And belt work, anything with the conveyor belt, is extremely dangerous. It's going at 300 feet per minute, sometimes faster than that. And if you catch an article of clothing or something in it, it's going to rip you to shreds. We're working right next to this belt line. I put in my hearing protection and worked a pickaxe for 8 hours. So, well, we'll say 6 to 7 hours for travel time and breaks. But it was a ball buster coal mining experience tonight. So the belt we were on, feeds out to the West Virginia prep plant, the preparation plant. Now underground, there's a cutout area called the bunker. And what it is, it's cut out, it's about probably 100 feet high under there. Underground, it's a large area cut out about 100 feet high. And there are large steel hoppers, about 10 of them, I think, that all the belts from all the working faces that are mining coal, all the sections that are mining coal, the long wall, the continuous miner sections that are mining entries, they all come down the belt line, the main belt line, and empty into these hoppers. And there's a hopper filler that moves across the tops of these hoppers, filling each one. Then about 50 feet below the hopper's about 50 to 70 feet high. Below there, they open up onto another belt, which is the one we were working on today, that goes south out to West Virginia. So it's like a buffer. It gathers all the coal and delays it so that there's a steady stream of coal heading south to fill the skip shaft elevators, so that they never miss a beat. They're always taking coal up. So this allows for continuous coal to head south. It's called a bunker. I would call it a hopper station, but it's called a bunker, and there's an electronic monitoring station in it. It is May 23rd, 2019 at 12:19 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, USA. This is your favorite underground artist, Mitch Miller. Some may argue the most underground artist in the world. You're listening to my podcast, The Black Hole, the story of a 35-year-old person, handyman / artist, deciding to go to the mines and work 900 feet underground. Tonight wasn't as labor intensive as a night as the previous night. We had got together with my black hat and we had to shovel spillage on the 55 block. And just so you know, a block is a pillar of coal. It's where a crosscut, it's from crosscut to crosscut basically. So there's entries and there's the crosscuts that cut across them. And a block is from crosscut to crosscut or from entry to entry. And we were on the 55 block cleaning up spillage. We did a couple extra blocks. That's on the belt line. Coal spills over the edge, or it actually sticks to the conveyor belt, and as the conveyor belt rolls under and hits the second set of rollers that are underneath it, the tiny bit of coal that's stuck to the conveyor belt comes off and piles up. So we had to shovel the piles and throw them back up onto the belt. And I learned a new term tonight. It's called a haystack, and it looks like a stalactite that is stacked up and formed where underneath one of these areas looks just like a stalactite basically. They call them haystacks. It's a stalactite made of coal and coal dust. So we did that, and then we had to do from the 57 block to the 73 block on the belt line. We had to drag the limestone rock dust on the floor. We've done this before with brooms, but tonight we stopped at a tool cache and got drag rags, basically is what they're called. It's basically a mop handle with burlap sack shredded up on the end of it so that you can makes it a lot easier than with just a straw broom. You can drag across and get a wider arc, and the burlap falls down into the crevices a lot better. We had to drag all the coal dust on the floor for 16 blocks. And you know, you might worry about coal dust and rock. You may wonder, rock dust, is that harmful for the lungs? They say that the rock dust is a big enough particle that it sticks to your mucous membranes and doesn't get ingested down into your lungs. My black hat had a dust mask on tonight. He told me where to get them, so the next time I do this, I might get a dust mask, because it gets pretty dusty when you're kicking up all that rock dust. So that was the night. Like I said, not as labor intensive of a night. It took us 2.5 hours to get in though, because we had to hold up at a spur, wait for all these people to come in and out. And I saw another mouse tonight scampering around, and made me think, I wonder if the mice realize they're 900 feet underground, and what are all these pillars of coal and roof straps holding up? Are we supporting an illegal or illicit government? Could we be supporting that up on the surface? I don't know. I just work underground, but you can find out next week on The Black Hole, Mitch Miller's podcast about coal mining. It is May 24th, 2019 at 2:24 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, USA. You're listening to my podcast, The Black Hole, where I go down in a coal mine every shift and keep about 5 minutes of notes after working in the coal mine for an 8 to 10 hour shift. Tonight was 10 hours. I got to work on section 5 South, the main working section. I was still out by work, but I rode with the crew for the first time. So that was 12, 14 people on a bus going in, a driver in a jump seat, and 6 on each end of the cab on the bus going in. My feet fell asleep on the way in, so on the way out I had to wiggle my toes quite often to make sure circulation was getting to my feet. Not a comfortable ride in, full of, when the rides are full of the man trips are full of guys. Got in, got our instructions. We had to set a couple posts, which are wooden 6x6 posts. Then we used both scoops tonight, and I actually got to drive the scoop. Really nice guy on the section, talks to me a lot, always curious about me. He taught me how to drive the scoop a little bit tonight. Drove for a total of about 5 minutes, but got to learn the controls and how to turn it on and everything. We used the scoop to... we had a loaded scoop with a bunch of roof bolts and straps and stuff like that. The straps are metal, corrugated metal. They're about 6 inches wide, and they're either 4 feet long or 8 to 10 feet long. The roof straps are 8 to 10 feet long, and the rib straps are about 4 feet long. So they run bolts through these straps in the roof every 5 feet. So as you walk along the roof, there's a strap going across the whole roof every 5 feet. Then on the rib, on the high side of the rib, the top 4 feet of the rib, they run a strap bolted in with a bolt to hold the rib in. So we loaded straps and roof bolts on a couple of the bolters. Now the miners themselves have roof bolt and rib bolt stations where men run those as the mining machine is actually mining coal and working its way deeper into the coal face. But there's actual separate roof and rib bolters, and that's what we supplied tonight. In addition, we rock dusted an entry. The scoop has a built-on rock duster, so I had to get up on the scoop and cut open bags of rock dust and dump them down into a hopper that fed into a hose. And my buddy there ran the hose in a sweeping motion across the rib and roof to rock dust all of that. So we rock dusted, we drug a sled up to a different position, further up towards the face, and resupplied our scoop with bolts and straps off of the train. We also emptied garbage out of a crosscut into the garbage hopper on the train. So that was pretty much our night. Took about 40 minutes to get in. Took about 50 minutes to get out. We got held up a couple places of people coming in. But overall, it was a 10-hour night, and it passed pretty quickly, so I'm pretty happy.
It is May 24th, 2019 at 13:38 Eastern Standard Time, 1:38 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I have off work today. It's an idle day. They're not running at full production at the mine today. So I thought I would take this time and review some common gases found in the coal mine. I have a list from my class. There's carbon dioxide, which is colorless, odorless, tasteless, and low concentration. Carbon monoxide, colorless, odorless, tasteless, poisonous. Nitrogen, colorless, odorless, tasteless. That makes up 78% of air. Hydrogen is colorless, odorless, tasteless. It has the explosive range from 4.1% to 74%. Oxides of nitrogen, they're poisonous. Methane, colorless, odorless, tasteless, explosive range from 5 to 15% of the air. Hydrogen sulfide is poisonous, colorless, smell of rotten eggs, explosive range from 4.3 to 45% of air. And then of course there's oxygen, which is colorless, odorless, and tasteless. So those are some of the gases found in the coal mine. That's why ventilation is so important down there. And just wanted to review through some of those. I know earlier in the week I talked a little bit about living under an illicit government, and I do want to get into that next week. As you can tell, towards the end of the week I expel a little bit about personal, well, not personal, but things that are on my mind, or things that I'd like to clarify or change in the world. So before I get into how we may be living under an illicit or illegal government, I'd like to propose a way to change things for the better, to make a better democracy, make it more democratic, so that you don't end up under this situation again. And I'm a big proponent of eliminating the Electoral College. And I think that you could do that, but I think our voting system is screwed up in the first place. I mean, you have to vote during normal business hours on a Tuesday usually. The polls are sometimes open late for working people, but if you have to work late, you're not going to be able to make it to vote. And you don't want to take time off during work to vote. So I propose a better system for voting. And some European countries pay people to vote, to get more people to vote, and this is my idea. Basically, you pay every person $5 to vote. Now this $5 covers postage and printing costs of this system to vote. So everyone gets a certified scantron unless you go online to a website, to a federal government website or state government website, and reserve your spot to vote at the polling place. So you get a scantron through the mail, certified mail, that has your candidates, or it might be just a scantron with a separate page that has the candidates, and you correspond to a scantron. The reason I say scantron is most people went to public school, had to take standardized tests. Just about everybody knows how to use a number 2 pencil to fill out a scantron. So why this system isn't in place already, I don't know. You don't really need fancy voting machines. You just need scantron sheets. Leaves a paper trail, and most universities have their own scantron machines, So they're able to double check. So you have a check system with the government, and you have a check system with private citizenry through the universities and things like that. So, like I said, everyone is scheduled to get every adult of voting age is scheduled to get a certified scantron through the mail. And we have certified mail, we have regular mail, and even regular mail, it is a felony to open somebody else's mail. So with certified, it means it comes to the doorstep and it requires a signature from the actual person. They might even have to show ID, or just their signature alone says, I am this person. So they leave a tag on your door if you're not home when the certified mail comes, and you have to go to the post office and get your certified letter. So these scantrons come through certified mail. If you go to a website and say, I'm going to make it to the polling place, I'm able to make it to the polling place, I'm going to be there to vote, you don't receive the scantron through the mail. And you get $5 for voting. Now, those that vote at the polling place will use their voter ID number through the voting board, their voter ID number, to vote, and then on their tax filing at the end of the year, they fill in their voter ID number, and in their tax return, they receive $5 back on their tax return for voting. Those that get the certified scantron will be required to fill out their state identification number from their state picture photo ID on the scantron. They fill it out and send it back, prepaid postage, to the address that it's supposed to be collected at. So those people at the end of the year will not qualify for their $5 in their tax return, because the postage and printing costs were absorbed, with the scantron system and the certified mail system. So if they try to put in their voter ID number on their tax return, you could have a database that cross-references their ID number and says, no, we received a scantron from you, so you do not qualify for your $5 payment for voting at the end, at the tax filing season and your tax return. So I think this would get a lot more people to vote and make it more convenient and easy for people to vote. And I don't know why we don't do things this way already, but it makes a better, stronger democracy, and every adult person of voting age and voting qualification would receive their opportunity to vote in federal and state and even local elections. The final thing I wanted to close with is the other way you could make a stronger democracy is, I was in a fraternity when I went to college, and we voted on the top 5 officers for our executive board in the fraternity. But even if you voted on most fraternities at least vote on the top 4 officers, which are vice president, president, secretary, and treasurer. And then on each chair position, we voted those people in as well. So I don't understand how these captains of industry, these people that were in fraternities because they were a democracy, they were in fraternities in college, went off to become leaders of industry, captains of industry, how they allow us to live under this type of democracy. I mean, we should vote on 4 positions in the executive branch. That's the way things should be. We should vote on president, vice president, secretary of state, and treasurer. We should not just vote in a king and a vice king and let them appoint all positions in the executive branch. It's absolutely ridiculous, and I don't know how you can go off and fight wars in other countries to say we're the best, strongest democracy in the world if you don't vote on 4 officer positions in the executive. So that's my spiel. I think that would make a better, stronger democracy. And if you'd like to find out more about me, go to www.plotm.com. That's plot, M as in Mitch.com.